Hey guys, this is Brian from the SE Optimist, and today's video is going to be a quick walkthrough on using Google Search Console and getting that set up. I've actually been meaning to do a video like this for a while, and recently in a conversation on YouTube that came up, and I thought I would make this video and just get that out of the way. So, first off, you can see in the URL bar up here, it's just google.com/webmasters. If you have a Gmail account, you would log in with that, or if you have a Google Apps account tied to maybe your business email, either or, whichever one you want to tie it to, you log into your Google account and then visit this page. As you can see here, it'll give you a list of all the sites that you've claimed. If you're doing this for the first time, you want to go over here where it says add a property, click that, and it will ask you for the web address. I'll just put in your website.com as an example. Let's click add. The next page it takes you to, it needs to verify that you actually own the website that you just put in. It always recommends the HTML file upload option. If you have FTP access already set up on your hosting, and that's relatively quick and easy for you to do, you just download the file with this link and you would upload it to the root directory of your site. And then click verify. The method that I actually usually use, though, because some of the clients I work with, I don't always have FTP access, or it's slower than the other way. I click alternate methods. You see that you have a few other options. If you already have Google Analytics verified to that site, you can actually use that. And as long as your email that you've used to log into this is also in that Google Analytics, then you can verify the site really easily that way. Or the one I use the most often is HTML tag. It gives you a tag here that you can highlight and copy. You can paste that into, if you're using a theme like Divi or any of the other major ones that have a section where you can just put code like Google Analytics right into the head area, you can paste this whole line. Or if you highlight just this part after content equals in between the quotes, it doesn't let you grab just that part here. So I usually copy the whole thing and I'll go into like a program like Notepad, paste the whole thing in Notepad, and then you can grab the code you need, copy that. Now let me jump to my own website as an example of this. If you're using a plugin like the SEO Framework or Yoast, there will be settings in here. I'm using the SEO Framework here. See where it says Google Webmaster Verification Code? That line that we just copied, you would paste it right in there. You can do the same thing for Bing Webmaster Tools, etc. Click Save at the bottom, and then you can go back over here and click Verify. And that will take you into the site, which... Okay, let me go back to my list here, to ones I've already verified to continue our little demo. So let me scroll down and find my own site in my list here. Okay, first thing you see is a dashboard. If you've attached your Google Analytics account to this, you can see some search analytics in there. That gives you a quick view of URLs that you've submitted and how many of them are indexed. If there's any crawl errors, you can get into them here. You'll see that I have one new not found. I've already looked at that. It's a bogus URL. Sometimes that happens when there's a link for whatever reason that gets created to something on your site, to a page that never existed. It's not your fault as the website owner, but Google will notice that link and will at least tell you about it. I'll sidebar for a moment so that we can click this. This is where it shows you the URL that's the problem. As you can see, it's a junk URL that I've never created. But if you have a redirection plugin, which is a whole side issue we'll get into in a different video, you can just click this. You can get the URL and then redirect it to some page that's for real on your site, and then mark it as fixed to get this out of the list. I will come back for myself and do that later. Anyway, back to what we're here for. One of the first things that you want to do when you verified a property is to get your sitemap in place. So you see you have a bunch of settings on the left here. Under crawl, you want to go to sitemaps. To add a new one, you can click this up here, and you can put whatever the URL to it is. If you're using the SEO framework, it's just your domain / sitemap.xml. I believe Yoast's format is sitemap_index.xml. You can test it here when you put it in too, just to make sure you have it right. It'll either tell you that it was able to find one or not, and then hit submit. Over here, it will tell you the last time that it processed your sitemap. It'll tell you how many URLs it found within it and how many of them it's indexed. As you can tell, my site is less than a year old, so I don't have a ton of URLs yet. One of the advantages of submitting a sitemap to Google is that it helps Google understand how your site works, how your pages kind of link to each other and associate with each other, and if for nothing else, it's a list of every indexable URL in your site just to make sure Google has a full picture of what it's looking at. However, even though you've submitted a sitemap, I have seen there be cases where it doesn't index every single URL in there, and sometimes you end up with a blog post or a page for some reason that doesn't make it in. So as a personal habit, I always go to where it says Fetch as Google right here on the left. You can see a list of all kinds of other blog posts I've written that I've submitted. It shows you previously submitted ones. Here's where you can add the URL to a new one. So you just get the URL to any page on your site, any blog post, and you paste the section of the URL that comes after your web domain. You can leave it as desktop, and you would say fetch. It'll pop up with a screen after that telling you that it was able to fetch it. It'll appear down in here, and this, where it says indexing requested, will actually be a button that you can click request indexing. And that's telling Google, now that you've looked at that page just now to verify that it's a real page, go ahead and send your crawlers to thoroughly explore it and index it. It'll also give you two options when you tell it to request indexing. Look at only this page, or index this page and all of the pages it links to directly. Now, it only lets you do that latter option, I think, 10 times per month, so I save that for where that's going to be significant. Most of the time, it's simple enough just to tell it to index that page. Doing this method, it's different every time you do it, but I have seen it index a page as fast as 5 minutes after doing this, so it's a very quick way to make sure that your stuff gets out there. When I launch a new site, I like to just go through all of the main core pages, some of the blog posts. I believe Google only lets you do 10 per day. Maybe that's Bing that I'm thinking of. So if you hit your limit for the day, just come back the next day. But this is a great habit to get into when you write blog posts. Every time you hit publish, the first thing you do is come into Google Search Console and add your blog URL to this, say fetch, and index it. That way you know right off the bat, the minute it's published, Google's looking at it, and then you can get into your other promotion of sharing it on social, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot more you can do with Google Search Console, but I always tell people, just nailing these two things that I've already shown you, if you're consistent, will make a big difference in getting your site content out there and making sure that it's looked at. You can also go into Google Index and look at index status to get sort of a graph of how your indexing has been going. You see that I started my site back in 8.6, and then it quickly picked up the index from there. It dipped here because I changed settings in my site to not index tags and categories anymore, so it actually reduced the number of pages in my index. And to reiterate, I talked about this in one of my other videos, the reason you might want to do something like that is because Google essentially gives an overall average quality score to your site based on the quality score it assigns to every indexed page it looks at. So if you have pages that are considered lower quality, like tag and category archives are, it will hurt your overall quality score. By telling Google don't index those because those are not nearly as useful as actual pages or actual blog posts, you improve your quality score with Google, and it actually makes your pages rank better, not competing against your archives. If you ever want to remove URLs, Say for some reason some URL tied to your domain got indexed, but it's not something that you actually want out there, you can click remove URLs and click temporarily hide, and then put that URL in there. You can tell it the reason, and it will take it out of the index for a span of time. It warns you that it may end up added back to the index at a later point, but at least solves the problem short term. And you can go into Search Analytics and click that to connect your Google Analytics account to this, so that you can actually just from within here access a lot of your search data while you're looking at other stuff. And a nice thing that I like to do as well, when you can look at Search Analytics, click Position as well. And then this is a great way to just see some of the things people have searched for that they found your site, and how many times you've been clicked for those things, and then what position in the search rankings you were when people searched for that. That's a really valuable tool, because you can go into optimizing your website with certain keywords in mind, and sometimes you would be surprised the related keywords that you end up getting found for that you may or may not have been trying. But it's always good to know that. And then if it's a topic that is really useful and you're glad to see that people are finding you, you can actually optimize harder for that just to really dominate there. It's a great way to get some insight into your site and just find out, because Google Analytics itself doesn't really tell you this kind of information. So this is a great way to just know how your content has gotten out there and how many people are really engaging with it. So, as I said, there's more you can do with Search Console, but this is just a quick crash course. This portion of it is something I teach all of my SEO coaching clients, because, as I said, this, like several basics in SEO, if you do nothing more than this, but you are consistent at this, it will make a big difference. So join us next time as I'll delve into other quick basic things you can do to get your site going. And I hope this was helpful. If it was, there's a link to my website in the description. Go ahead and visit there. I blog on topics from time to time. Sometimes there's overlap. Something I'll blog about will end up being a video here, but a lot of other times I will just add blogs. So if you want tips like this on an ongoing basis, go ahead and check out my site, and hopefully some of that will help you as well. Thanks, guys.